Aliens have let loose zombies among this one street of this town. How can they stop them? Only Ed Wood knows. Grab your solar night because you're listening to a Kind of Garbage podcast, movie edition.
Hey, it's a kind of...
Alright, Cody, this is a movie that my friend Rob recommended that we watch. I hate Rob for making me watch this movie. I hate this movie. Let me give you a quick plot synopsis. Aliens put into action Plan 9 to stop humans from making solar night, which will destroy the universe. That's the plot of the movie.
So the plot of the movie is the dead come back to life, but then who are bringing the dead back to life?
Aliens who look like they are from a Star Trek original series episode
who are wearing medieval costumes
because it has a axe on his shirt, which
they're wearing tunics with belts. Like they're literally dressed like knights.
Now, this is an infamously bad movie. I don't even think I've ever seen an Ed Wood movie. I've never seen Ed Wood, and I've never watched one of his films beforehand. I know people enjoy this movie, but watching it alone, as I did, I got bored, like 20 minutes through. It feels so padded. There's so much stock footage in it. Yeah,
this movie's a ton of stock footage.
This gives Neil Breen a run for his money.
Yeah.
So what I have in my notes is there's a news guy telling a story, and he announces that these are grave robbers from outer space. And then after doing a little bit of reading afterwards, like in my notes, I have grave robbers from outer space because it sounded like he's introducing the movie. That was the name of the movie originally until
grave
they changed.
Grave robbers from outer space?
Yeah, which makes sense. But they're not grave robbing. Because grave robbing would be like, I guess some instances you're stealing the bodies, or like the rings and earrings off of corpses. That's what it usually was.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this starts with a funeral with just voiceovers because nobody's talking. There's two, I guess, groundskeepers who are going to fill the holes where the bodies are, but there's already mounds of dirt over it. The people walk over the mounds of dirt, and I'm like...
A good way to explain the movie would be, there is a story. It feels like it changed every couple of days during shooting. Like a lot of it feels like, we don't have access to this. Okay, get rid of this and we'll do this. But most of it is establishing a shot with stock footage and then proceeding to show the most poorly constructed set imaginable. That is supposed to be a spaceship. It's supposed to be the cockpit of a military aircraft. It's supposed to be a cemetery. Like, it really is...
Everything is construction paper and cardboard.
Yeah, everything is incredibly poorly constructed. And then the camera work, it doesn't show anything. Like, it's so embarrassed of, like, what it looks like. It's almost like a fixed camera just being like, okay, like, just this is what it is. Don't pan around too much. You know it's a cemetery because there's 4... cardboard graves in the back, and you know it's a cockpit because there's 2 guys holding onto broomsticks that are supposed to be like the flight stick.
There's a UFO on a string which is fine, I guess, for the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was so difficult to try and make it through the movie that I had to pause and then try and rewatch portions of the end where basically...
Well, it's one of those mistakes. It's one of those movies where it makes the mistake of, for padding out runtime or maybe just running out of, like, maybe shots had to be canceled. It's the same idea reshot. The aliens are bringing the dead back to life. And it's like, okay, let's send the police in to investigate. And they do that. And then they're like, okay, let's send the police in to investigate. And you're like, that just happened 10 minutes ago. Like, you don't need to do this again. Like, progress it and show, okay, what are we doing next? Like, what's the next action beat?
The one zombie police officer is probably my favorite one, like the really big guy where he looks like
Tor
Kingpin,
Johnson. Yeah,
which is amazing, and he gives a great performance just in the way that his face is. The other two quote unquote zombie vampires, which one is Bela Lugosi, that was footage used after he died from a previous movie that Ed Wood was making that never got finished.
Yes.
And then you have another vampire lady who...
Vampirella?
I can't remember what her name is, but...
And she's in the credits, it's credited as Vampirella.
Isn't? Ugh. So as they're in the cemetery, a bunch of them come out of like a little chapel, a little structure where they're all bent over because it's so small and it has a cardboard door.
Well, it's supposed to be a crypt, and then as they're leaving the
crypt door is 4 feet high.
Oh yeah, it's hilariously tiny, and then it's also like, oh, the funeral happened inside the crypt, and it's like, I think that's just where the body's entombed. So everyone walks through this little cardboard doorway. That doorway is literally built to scale for Bela Lugosi, or I think actually it's the Vampirella character. It's literally built to scale for her to open the door and walk out. But to everyone else, it's like way too small.
Yeah, and her, like, this is back in, the 50s? So she has that body shape where they have, like, a tiny, tiny waist, and it kind of looks gross.
Yeah, she's wearing a corset, and then she has her eyebrows are, like, really plucked up.
There's a scene where Tor Johnson is about to go check out what the sound is, and a guy says, "Are you sure you want to go alone?" He says something like, "I'm a big boy, Johnny."
Hey, be careful, Clay.
I'm a big boy, not Johnny.
And then he just goes and walks into the woods and then dies.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie, I don't know, there's a woman laying on her bed and she kisses her husband goodbye. There's a scene where he's getting into his convertible, which I wrote down because as he walks up to it, I don't know what the set is like, but he gets in the passenger's side and then scoots over to the driver's side.
I would imagine it's because they didn't want to pan out because they're shooting on a little tiny lot.
I thought it was odd that he didn't walk to the driver's side, and it's just something stupid, like it probably doesn't even matter, but I'm like, why didn't he walk around the car? He got in, sat down, then he just like shimmied over.
Scooted. Just let me scoot over to drive.
There's another scene where they're shooting at the UFOs in the sky. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. That's where you get a bunch of the stock footage of anti-air guns, I think it is, shooting like military guns.
Yeah, so there's a couple, So you have a shot of like a military general by himself.
Oh.
Just standing in front of like a
wall.
A wall.
That's supposed to look like the sky.
Yeah.
But it has creases in it.
Yeah. So he's just standing there looking up with binoculars, and then we cut to stock footage of, it would have had to have been like military training footage of them shooting like artillery and anti-aircraft weaponry.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to like the flying saucers kind of getting dinged around on their strings.
By probably like Chinese fireworks. I assume they're just like hucking at them.
It's not great.
They have a mothership in the sky, almost in the sky in space. That actually looks okay.
Yeah. Where
the little ships will go to and they'll pass behind it, then come around, then go back in. So there was some depth to that, which I like. One of the things that I noticed, and then I read up online as well, is that they have a construction light on the desk. Like the blinking one, I'm like, that looks like a construction light. And they walk over to it and they flip the switch to turn it off. And then later on I read it is a construction light. So it's basically like Ed Wood's looking around. I assume he's stoled off of a road. The
control panel for the alien spaceship is on top of a kitchen table.
Oh my god.
Like the chair that like the alien king sits in a chair is a dining room chair.
In my notes here, the last of my 4 notes say, got bored, people run around and get scared, fire on the spaceship, and it blows up the end.
Yeah.
Because, there's a couple scenes when I was rewatching it, they shoot lasers down to turn the zombies into skeletons. So basically, like, all of their flesh dissolves and they just kind of like go bleh.
So they have these unkillable zombies, and then they're like, what are we going to do with them? And they're like, we'll shoot them with a disintegration ray. We'll shoot our own weapon with a disintegration ray to show off how powerful our other weapon is, and then that will scare the humans. And they do it. They just do it because somewhere they had a model skeleton on set and they just wanted a reason to like hang a skeleton. That's it.
I feel like we just started talking about this. I don't have anything else to say about this movie. I fucking hate it.
You hated it. I thought it had some charm to it. Like I liked it more than obviously this movie's like 60 years old.
80, wouldn't it be now? It's 2020.
Oh my god.
You're thinking if it was made in the 50s, 50 plus 50 is...
I just did quick math, yeah, but you're right. This movie's 70, almost 80 years old.
Yeah, it's I respect it for what it is for, like an art film, or just
I
the
think
history of it.
I think it's interesting just because the history of it as being like a rushed work, like a rushed.
Was it rushed?
I think it's like a cobbled together movie made by kind of like this huckster filmmaker who this is kind of like how his whole career was like, you want a movie? I can get you a movie. Like I can make a movie faster than anyone. At the time, you definitely understand why people were like, Ed Wood, like the name Ed Wood is just like the kiss of death. Like, you know it's going to be shit. But now you're kind of like, you almost appreciate, like, it's kind of like the, I don't know, like the P.T. Barnum thing where, like, at the time it's just like, you know, this guy's just like a snake oil salesman, or like this guy's just, you know, he can't deliver on what he sells and whatever. But then as history goes on and he kind of just falls into like his little place in film history, you kind of appreciate the fact that like at one period of time in filmmaking there was like a grifter, like there was a guy just running into the big studios being like I would imagine like Ed Wood would like go to a studio and be like, oh, my car just broke down, can I go in and use the phone to call for a tow truck? And then when he got in there he would just like clip a tie on and like run around with scripts being like, I can make a movie for you. Like, I
thought you were gonna say he would like make long distance calls.
Oh, or probably even that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
he'd have like his little suitcase, be like, oh, it broke down, and they'd go in and they'd look for the offices and put scripts and contact information.
Yeah, like at the time you could definitely see how like he's viewed as a blight on the industry, but like now you're like, you know what, like I almost appreciate the fact that he's doing what he's doing.
I know that I read that this was supposed to be one of the worst movies ever made, but it was supposed to be so bad that it's good. I can't even agree with that. I would never want to make someone watch this. And is it better watching it with somebody? Maybe. But
well, I feel that like the whole so bad it's good, like this obviously was like a rush job movie where he's like, what are the aliens using against the humans? And he's like, vampires. And it's like, why? And he's like, because I have all this B-roll footage of Bela Lugosi putting a cape over his mouth. And it's like, what? Like that's the decision making process? And it's almost like impressive. But you can laugh about that. But I feel now with like the whole people are revisiting all these movies that are like like the whole rise of the B movie or the direct to DVD movie, or like now it would be like the straight to Netflix or Amazon Prime movie, that it's like, I think now it's hard to say so bad it's good because there's so many more ways to have your movie distributed now that it's easy to slip a movie through the cracks where like only like, you know what I mean? Like only a couple executives actually saw what we were doing and they looked at it and went, oh man, just put it in a red box. Like just do something. Where at the time of Ed Wood, like you would have had to have gone through like the whole chain of like theaters and movie studios to get it out there. Like that's the only way they're going to see your movie. With movies now, like obviously like The Room, and I think we just watched it, Veronica. There's like,
I was gonna say, Veronica's not so bad it's good though.
Well, but I think Veronica now, when you do like the whole so bad it's good, it's like instead of it being a movie that was shot on the cheap, like there's a lot of money and care put into Veronica, but the skill isn't there. Where the flip side with Plan 9 is the skill is there. He knows how to make a movie. Yeah. But the budget isn't there, and like the care isn't there. Where he's like he doesn't care about the movie. Like it doesn't matter. Like if he had footage of Bela Lugosi as a mummy, the movie would have been aliens are making mummies come to life. Like he literally just strung together what he had. It's just like making dinner out of like what you have in the cabinets.
It's a casserole.
Exactly. It's just like
it's a movie casserole.
Exactly. Like it's like we need a movie, and then he just runs into the kitchen and he goes, we got noodles and sauce and this. All right, hey, we're having spaghetti. Like that's him. Whereas I think Veronica, so Plan 9 is spaghetti. And then Veronica is literally like Glenn Danzig being like, I want to make a steak dinner. And then it's like, Glenn, did you go to the butcher store? And he went, no. And then it's like, oh, well, that's going to slow you down. Like,
what do we have? We have some expired tuna.
Yeah. It's
and
like
sawdust.
Exactly. Like, I think it shows like Ed Wood's ability to make a movie with what he has, which is a skill. It might be grifting, but it's a skill. And you kind of compare it to like Glenn Danzig or Tommy Wiseau, where they're like, I know what I want to make. Like, I have a vision in my head. I'm not doing this by the seat of my pants, just being like, what are we doing today? Well, what can we do today? Or like, what's this movie going to be? Well, what do we have access to? Those movies are very much, I want to make this.
Yeah.
And then it misses. Like he's called his shot and it completely misses. Where how it works for Ed Wood is, if you don't call your shot, you can never miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're obviously, like, you could pick this movie apart. Like, yeah, things are made of cardboard.
Which this is a notorious movie for like Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah,
How did this get made? Yeah.
Everyone's pulled it apart. Like, the acting's not especially great. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Costumes are hilariously like pulled from other movies. Yeah, like I don't think you could really do a podcast on a movie like this anymore and gain any more insight. I think now the only way to really talk about this movie is this isn't a terrible movie.
I disagree.
Like, well, no, like this, like as far as competency goes, like this movie is low budget and it is like very much stapled together of pre-existing things, but it's done by someone who kind of knows what he's doing. Where I think now when you go, hey, do you want to watch a movie that's so bad it's good? Almost all of them are vanity projects where it's like Neil Breen, where it's like, this makes no sense, and this is just like Neil Breen hiring actresses to like kiss him, and you're like, this is creepy, Neil. And then it's like Glenn Danzig, where it's like, I want my movie to be sexy, so I'll cast porn stars, and it's
then
like,
they barely get naked.
They do,
later,
but it's like, yeah, but you're not making a porno, Glenn. You're making an actual movie. Like, you're hiring porn stars to act.
I still wish it was a porno at this point.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like new age erotica. It was...
But that's the problem, though. It's like he didn't cast actors to like act sexy or like build sexual tension between the characters. It's Glenn Danzig being like, I want to make a movie where it's just me shooting porn stars. And it's like, okay, Glenn, but then make a porn, like do what their strength is. Like, make an adult movie. Don't make a sex thriller where it's not thrilling and it's not overly sexy. Like, this is stupid. And then with Tommy Wiseau, he makes a movie where it's about it's all about like human interaction, and it's made by a guy who
isn't human.
Yeah, it's made by a guy who people questioned, like, are you even human? Like, it's like you don't even know. It's like it's like you were raised on another planet. So like, they're all vanity projects where like no one was in place to say no. Whereas with Ed Wood and Plan 9, this feels like people just kept saying yes. Like, people kept saying, Ed, do what you have to do to get this movie made. Like, we have to get this movie in a theater to make money. And Ed's like, oh, I'll do it as fast as I can.
All right, so this movie is very easy for me to rank it. It does not make my top 10, so it's the very first movie to not appear in the top 10, not be able to get kicked out of the top 10 because it doesn't even make it on the list whatsoever. So it's a failed movie in my opinion. How about you?
I definitely am conflicted over... I did not dislike this movie where I disliked Bodily Harm, so it doesn't make sense for me to say this doesn't make the top 10 when Bodily Harm does. But yeah, I mean, at least Bodily Harm had my attention at points. Like, Plan 9, like we said, has been talked about to death, so it's kind of hard to watch it now and gain anything. But I could definitely see, like, after this movie had a theatrical run, then some time went by and film progressed, and you could go back and revisit it, that people would just be like, oh my god, like, this is so funny and this is so good to watch. But I feel like that time's over. I feel like now the title of like a movie or the best worst movie ever made, or a movie so good it's bad, or so bad it's good, I feel like that's kind of passed on Plan 9, so it's hard to give it points on anything. So yeah, it's not going to make the top 10.
Good.
Good.
For our next episode, I believe the next thing we are going to be doing is our first TV episode, which I have selected.
Yes.
And it's a 22-minute episode, and we're going to be watching the first episode of Clerks, the animated series. Something that I enjoy, so...
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh, you're in for a treat then. I think you'll really enjoy it. For listener mail, there is no listener mail. Thank you, everyone, for not sending anything.
Perfect.
And we shall catch you on our next episode that comes out. Cody?
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
As always, you can find us online through our social media accounts on Twitter and Instagram, both at A Kind of Garbage. You can also email us
at akindofgarbage@gmail.com with any questions or comments you may have. Be sure to check us out at akindofgarbage.com, where you can find links to our Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube pages, as well as our Patreon page at patreon.com/akindofgarbage, where you can get access to our private Discord channel and Patreon exclusive podcasts. Thank you again for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time.
So that was a tour of a movie. I'm never gonna do it again. I'm gonna send my friend Rob a text telling him that I hate him and I don't appreciate his recommendation.
Yeah, I get it. I have some movies in mind that I might pick from some of my next movies.
I have so many erotic thrillers.
Oh, I'm just rubbing the bridge of my nose right now, just being like, oh god, how many softcore pornos do I have to watch with Adam?
So many Well, you're the one like, let's watch 2040, and I'm like, I really don't want to watch a porno, but
I think Colton wants us to watch that one.
Oh my god, he would.
Based on the fact that the movie 2040 is a joke between the two of us, because I think there's just my dog Penny. I think
other than Pirates 1 and 2, I don't know of any other pornographies that got like set down to rated or dropped to rated R movies where they take out all the actual sex scenes, but they leave the topless scenes in because that's fine.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a softcore erotic movie.
Oh, it's a hardcore porn movie where they just
I mean the
the rated R version.
The rated R version is like topless and it's like kind of like humping and stuff like that.
Yeah, heavy petting.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a movie that I had seen on TV late night, and I laughed because I'm like, this is like a rated R movie and it's terrible. Mm-hmm. That's entirely cast by porn stars, and I guess naively thought, like there's nothing stopping like porn stars from just making a rated R movie. Like, why not?
Not their acting.
No, yeah, definitely. But then I think I looked it up on IMDb, or I'd done something and looked it up and realized that, yeah, this movie, there is like, I don't know, I didn't even look, it's like an hour and something minutes, like an hour 19 minutes or whatever, like a standard feature length. And then there's also the movie with like full sex scenes in it that is stretched out to, I think it's like 3 DVDs long if you were to buy the DVD. And like, yeah, like it's just kind of funny thinking that like could technically take a movie like that and then every like interaction that two characters have. Hang on one sec. Penny, go upstairs. Hey, Penny, come here. Come here. Go to bed. Hey, bed. Go to bed.
Does she just need to lie down? Penny, lie down. There you go.
Good girl.